Here's the hypocrisy of this is so staggering. All right, first of all, we're in this mess because the NCAA, colleges and coaches and everybody involved in this were greedy. Okay, they fought for years to keep from paying the players over the top. All right, they fought it and fought it and fought it, and that's why we're in this mess. Because finally, a court somewhere said, "This is wholly unfair. It's wholly unfair. You can't keep doing it. It goes against everything we stand for in the country, and you cannot keep doing this." And because it was no longer this idea that about students and it being about academic. Shut up. Shut up. Alrighty, welcome in. It's your favorite political podcast. It is Alabama Politics This Week with Josh Moon and
David Person.
How are you, Dave?
Good, man. It's a beautiful day today. I'm feeling good.
It is a beautiful day. We may have a temperature that starts with a 9. So we're doing good. We're doing good, baby.
I've
man, you know when we're hitting 90 in April, you know how it's gonna be. Ooh.
I've been telling people, I'm like, I said, this is, I've never met anybody like this guy. I think I was telling my girlfriend, I was like, he wants to run in 90-degree weather. That's when he wants to go out and run.
I did it. I've been, the last, going right in the middle of the day, man. It's been so awesome. Oh, it's been so great. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed this nice little run. We're getting the pool heated up. Maybe able to get in there at the end of the month. That'll be pretty sweet. So it's great, man. You just can't beat it. You can't beat it. It's this is. Look, okay, there's some downsides to living in Alabama, especially as blue people, okay? As blue people, downsides here, okay? But this is one of the bright spots. All right, it heats up. You got a long summertime. You get if you like it, if you like that. If you don't, then I don't know. It's just misery all the time. I think you really do need to move somewhere. Make yourself happier if you have the ability. But hey, listen, it's been great. Before we get rolling on the podcast here, and we piss off all the Alabama fans, we're going to we need to tell you about our friends over at Wind Creek Hospitality, because they sponsor this. They keep it going for us, and we really do appreciate them and everything they do. Here they run 3 fantastic resorts in this state, in Montgomery, Wetumpka, and Atmore. Wetumpka and Atmore being they're the kind of gold standards for resort in the state. I'm telling you to go and do this. Go and stay at one of those places. Go and do this. If you're on your way to the beach, you're on your way to the Gulf, not the Gulf of Mexico. If you're on your way down there, you're going to Orange Beach, you're going to Gulf Shores, you're going down there to stay with the family. Don't make that whole drive in one day. Break it up to stay in Wetumpka, stay in Atmore, get yourself a nice room. Go let the kids go to the pool, hang out at their nice resort style pool there. Let them play in the arcade. Let them have a good time. If you're in Atmore, especially, go to the movie theater, watch a nice movie while y'all go to the spa. You play some games, you play some of the adult games, you go to a nice dinner. You go to a nice dinner and have a good time. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. It is top level service and accommodations. You will not regret doing this. It'll just make the trip that much better. Do it coming back as well. Let them know that we sent you down there and we told you all how great it is and what a good time that we have when we go.
You know what I like about the spa, I toured the one in Wetumpka.
Right.
And what I liked about it was the moment you step through the door, it's just got that beautiful aroma in the air. You're in a place where you're going to get the pampering that you want.
That's right.
It just permeates the air.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. You're gonna be treated well. You're gonna be treated.
Oh
well.
Yeah.
So it's listen. Look them up online at Wind Creek Entertainment and book a stay. You will not regret it. I'm telling you, if you have never stayed with them, you've never been there, you just don't understand the level of service and professionalism and courtesy that goes into those. It's just something that you don't experience at most places. You just don't. And it's something that's a little bit lost in the hospitality world of today, and they do it so well. And it's probably why they're the number one hospitality employers in the state. So look them up online. You book yourself a stay. I'm telling you, you're going to enjoy it and you're going to have a good time. All righty. I got a problem with somebody that I think people are not going to have a good feeling about. Okay. But hear me out. Okay. Hear me out. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can separate, because I'm not a crazy person. I can separate my fan loyalty for college football with the people who participate in those activities. Okay. And I can at one time say, God, I hate Nick Saban so much. I hate him. He cheats. I know he cheats. I know he's a cheater. I know he's doing things that's scheming over here. I can do all that in the context of college football. Okay, because that's what I'm supposed to do as a fan of the rival of the University of Alabama. Okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. Okay, I also respect the winning ways and things he did for that program. Okay, but I have to hate him. I have to hate him in that world. Outside of that world, I am also, I have a working brain, so I understand that there's some that, Nick Saban is a human being. He's a human being with that has business aspirations and family and other things, and it's not all about this rivalry in college football. And so I respect him as a human being, okay? And I judge him on those things that he does in that world as well. And I try not to let the rivalry thing influence how I judge him in that world. And so I believe I have been mostly fair to Nick Saban. Okay. I believe I have been mostly fair to Nick Saban because I do appreciate what he did during the Black Lives Matter marches and the things that he did in leading the student protests and helping his team and during the George Floyd protest, helping them come to terms with those things and leading them and being out front with them. I appreciate his messaging during COVID and how he put on the mask and cut the commercials, and he did these things. I think he helped save a lot of lives. That's very, very important. I think he should have been commended and was by a lot of people, and rightfully so. I think he has been, for the most part, a pretty good ambassador for college football and for sports and for student athletes in a lot of cases. Okay, I think he's done a lot of different things.
But there is a but coming, though.
There is, yes. Because what he is doing now, what he is doing now in college football and in this debate about NIL and the transfer portal and things, I think he is contributing his name to an effort that is very hypocritical. I think it takes a stance that places more importance over the game than it does the people involved in the game, particularly the student athletes who have been getting the shaft for years and years and years, while people like Nick Saban have made out like bandits. Okay. And they have made out like bandits on the backs of mostly uncompensated labor. Okay. Let's be clear about this. I'm not calling it slavery because that is an insult to people who actually went through slavery. Okay. So it's not that. It's not that at all. It is, I think people draw those comparisons because you're talking about a lot of young black men who are being exploited for their talents, and that absolutely occurred. Okay. That absolutely occurred. But I just think that what he is doing now in lending his image and his name and his voice to these efforts by Trump and Tommy Tubberville and some of these other people in which they're wanting to put limits on the student athletes and how often they can transfer and all these things, and presenting it in a manner in which it's unsustainable for the athletes. And what I keep asking people is a simple question. Okay. Because what's occurred, for those of you who are not in the college football world, is because of court rulings that have dealt specifically with universities, the NCAA, and television companies and apparel companies exploiting the name, image, and likeness of student athletes for generations. That the courts have now ruled that they can no longer do that these student athletes have every right to their name, image, and likeness, and no one can take that from them. No one can bar them from profiting from their own accomplishments and their own feats and the work that they put into these athletic competitions that they're part of. And they had been doing it for years. They've been doing it for years, selling jerseys in the stadium with Cam Newton's name on it, while at the same time pretending that Cam Newton possibly getting $100,000, it was just this egregious act that had occurred. The guy led Auburn to the national championship literally on his back because no other player on that offense played a snap in the NFL. Okay, think about that shit for a minute. And then. Wow. And I mean, you want to talk about billions of dollars that have resulted from what he did on the field in one season for Auburn. And then people were over, he got $100,000, I mean, shut up, and so that's the hypocrisy that has existed. And so now they've changed this, and now student athletes can benefit from those name, images, and likeness deals. And so now they're going to universities and they're getting contracts. They're getting contracts for $1 million, $2 million a year because people are willing to pay them that amount of money to come and play for their programs. And they're also free to transfer if they would like to transfer from different from the universities. And so now we're trying to stop that desperately. The coaches are trying to stop that desperately. The administrations are trying to stop that desperately. The NCAA is trying to stop that because it's just going to ruin sports. Everybody's going to ruin it. It's terrible. We've been doing it for 3 years now, and as far as I can tell, the TV numbers have never been better, and the stadiums are still sold out. And so it's not ruining anything. What it actually is ruining is this little game and this little scheme that they had all worked out for themselves, where Saban was making $12 million a year and had a free house that he was living in Tuscaloosa, and all of his assistants were making millions of dollars, and the university was making tens of millions of dollars on every game. And the NCAA was making hundreds of millions of dollars, and the TV companies were making hundreds of millions of dollars, and the apparel companies were making hundreds of millions of dollars.
Everybody. And now, but the players.
But the players. Yeah. And now, because the players are taking their cut, all of these people are taking a cut. All right?
Well, let's go ahead and acknowledge a couple of things. One, it's always been said that at the Division I level, at least in football and basketball, there were players who were making something, and you
of course there were.
Alluded to that with your comments about Cam Newton, and they were making something, perhaps, and maybe decent amounts of money, or decent amounts of, or decent, or let's say, substantial gifts, let's say, but. It wasn't anything even remotely comparable to what they have access to now.
No.
And what they have access to now, even now, in my opinion, from what I know about it, is not even remotely comparable to what is still available to coaches and schools and these conferences, these athletic conferences, and the NCAA and the apparel companies, as you suggested. So what we're dealing with here, and it's really disappointing with Nick Saban in particular, is I think a real kind of illogical kind of hypocrisy, because Saban here has been, and it's disappointing to me, and I'm not, I've already confessed on this podcast, college sports, I didn't grow up following college sports in any real significant way. I followed professional sports growing up in the North in Chicago. But I'm only following it casually at best right now. But I will say this. I began to realize, as you said, Josh, that Saban was a champion for his players in many significant ways, and he also, I think, was legitimately lauded for having a great graduation rate, which I really appreciated about him. So there's a lot to applaud him for when he was coaching. But now that he's out of the coaching business and in the commentary business and also making millions as a businessman, it's very disappointing to me to see him say, well, it was okay for me as a coach to make millions, but it's not okay for the players, to get a sliver of that,
Yeah.
considering that the only reason the coach was able to make what he was able to make was because of the players. Without the players, the coach didn't have any value.
In District 82, our families work hard, and we want our children to have the opportunities we didn't always have. Representative Pebblin Warren fought to increase funding for Tuskegee University from $4 million to over $20 million. She helped bring high-paying jobs to our district so families can build a future right here at home. She secured funding for roads that connect our communities. And when COVID hit, she helped families get unemployment and the support they needed to make it through. Because for Pebblin Warren, this work is personal. Let's send Pebblin Warren back to the State House to keep fighting for us.
Well, listen. Let's be fair to Saban, okay, on this, because he's not necessarily saying, and he hasn't. In his defense, he has said that he's okay with the players getting money. Okay, and he has a problem with the amounts that some of them make, and he has a problem with them having the ability to transfer but
it's a sliver.
Right. No, it is a sliver. It is a sliver. And this is my problem with him is he's qualified it like this, where he has said that it used to be about development, that he focused so much on development, and now these kids have this money coming in. And they have these options on what to do. And now it's no longer about development. It's about how much money you can make. And what I think that does is, number one, it diminishes a large degree on the intelligence and the work ethic of so many of these student athletes. And I think 90% of them are very intelligent, and they have a tremendous work ethic, because most of them have worked their absolute asses off to be where they are. Do you know what those kids have done over the course of their lives to be one of the top-rated players in their chosen sport? I mean, the summers they've given up, the workouts they've attended, and all that stuff. And I think this is my biggest problem, though. This is my biggest problem, is he seems to be suggesting, without suggesting, that the way he was able to help motivate those guys is because they didn't have anything and they wanted to attain it. And that's a problem that I have, is that we've got a whole bunch of guys in the NFL who are making millions of dollars, and somehow they're still pretty damn motivated up there. But now all of a sudden we need to hold this money, this life-changing money that has changed and saved so many families now over the course of the last 3-4 years that they've been able to do this. This has really helped out a lot of very impoverished families, and to make money over the top of the table instead of under it, as they had been doing for years. Now, we need to withhold that from them, because that's another incentive for us to get them to do what we want them to do.
And that just sounds really patriarchal to me.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to say that they're not, as you've indicated, they're not stupid.
No.
They understand that there's a limitation to what they can get through NIL.
Mm-hmm.
What they can get through the NFL, while there are limits there too, the limits are a lot bigger and broader. I mean, they have a real capacity. Look at somebody like Marshawn Lynch. Mm-hmm. Marshawn Lynch is a great example. I'm just going to say he never struck me as the most, I'll say, highly educated person. And I don't know what his college matriculation experience was, or if he has a degree or not, or whatever. But he never struck me that way. However, this young man, Marshawn Lynch, went from, I guess, wherever he went to school. He gets into the NFL. He is a beast, as his moniker suggested. He was a beast in the NFL. He makes an incredible living in the NFL, and he was smart enough to parlay that into a career outside of the NFL, where he's been able to make, I'm sure, millions more acting and appearing in commercials and whatever else he's doing. I mean, the trajectory one's life can take just getting into the league and then being smart about it.
Right.
There's a difference of night and day between that and whatever sliver of money they're getting through NIL. These guys are not stupid.
No, they're not stupid. And listen, I'll say this. They do need. Here's the hypocrisy of this is so staggering. All right, first of all, we're in this mess because the NCAA, colleges and coaches and everybody involved in this were greedy. Okay, they fought for years to keep from paying the players over the top. All right, they fought it and fought it and fought it, and that's why we're in this mess. Because finally, a court somewhere said, This is wholly unfair. It's wholly unfair. You can't keep doing it. It goes against everything we stand for in the country, and you cannot keep doing this. And because it was no longer this idea that about students and it being about academics. Shut up. Okay, you didn't give a shit about that. Okay, when you're taking those kids out in the middle of the NCAA tournament and they're not going to class for a month. Okay,
right.
Just shut up. You're not worried about that. All right, it's not.
Right.
It's great that they get a college education. It's great that they have all these things. It's fantastic. But what the problem that they have is that they don't want to do some pretty basic things that would have set this thing off, because if they do it, it opens themselves up to regulations that they don't want to adhere to, which is declaring the student athletes as employees. They could do that right now today, and we could put an end to almost all of the problems that we have. All right. We could put an end to almost all of them if we did that, but they don't want to do that because that then opens them up to collective bargaining. And so the players are going to form a union, then they're going to collectively bargain, then they're going to get the contracts in place, and then they're going to do all these things, which is what they should probably do anyway. And what you should probably do also is separate out your revenue producing sports like football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball probably, and separate those things to the side and say, these are going to be our collectively bargained sports. And then we're going to have these other more traditional college sports that we treat like this. And we're going to continue to fund them through these, through our, whatever, through our tuition and all these other things that go into this. And it's going to be our traditional sports, but they don't want to do any of that, because all of that cuts into the profit margin that they have currently enjoyed for however long that they've been doing this thing. They could also put in contracts right now. They could also sign all of these kids to contracts, and you could just, if you entered into a contract, it would be, you got to stay there for 3 years to get your money. If not, you got to give it back, But if you wanted to go in,
do that. Yeah.
If you wanted to go in and put in some rules about how often you could transfer, how often, what you had to do, you had to adhere to the contracts, you had to do these different things. I don't think most people would have a problem, including the players. I don't think most of them would have much of an issue with these things to be able to transfer 2 or 3 times. I think, though, the hypocrisy comes in with somebody like Saban or Tubberville, my God, Tubberville, talking about putting a limit on transfers, and as Chris Murphy from Connecticut said, does that go for coaches too, Coach? Because, my God, they broke contracts constantly. Saban broke contracts, broke them at Michigan State, broke it at LSU, left the Dolphins. You're talking about this 5-year thing. Hell, Saban never stayed anywhere more than 5 years, up until he got to Alabama, where he landed and stayed, and so
these guys, I think they actually do believe, and again, this is why I say paternalism. They actually believe that these student athletes should be treated like children, and that they're really not, even though they're adult-sized bodies and having to deal with adult-sized responsibilities, they're really still children. And so we can treat them as children, not having the full right of citizenship to just be as capitalist as the coaches are.
Yeah, exactly. That's all the players are doing currently. Is they're just capitalizing on capitalism. That's all they're doing. Is that they are a commodity, and they are selling that commodity to supply and demand, baby. And the last I checked, not a soul has forced a university to pay any of these players. Nobody's forced anybody. If they didn't want to, if a university out there didn't want to pay a dime in NIL to any player, they didn't have to do that. They could have chosen to remain a scholarship only program, and they could have gone about their business that way, but they've done it to compete at the highest level because they're making so much money off of this, and they are willing to share that money with these players. And the boosters who have been footing the bill for these $12 million a year contracts for coaches have now taken a lot of that money and put it towards paying the top players to come into those universities and play for them. The top quarterbacks and the top running backs and the top defensive players, they're all making $1 million, $1.5 million or whatever a year, which is a fairly paltry sum in terms of the grand picture of things. And listen, it's great for some of these guys. It's great, for the guy coming out of high school that's gonna earn $1.5 million, and he may ultimately be a bust. Same thing happens in the NFL all the time, with those contracts. But what it has done, it has given freedom to a lot of these players, and it has paid their way, because I would rather see 5,000 guys who are busts get paid more than they probably are ultimately worth in college football, than to see one Tyrone Prothro. And I covered Tyrone Prothro at Alabama. He was a fantastic wide receiver, running back combo guy. I mean, was just electric every time he touched the ball. Small guy. He would have made millions of dollars in the NFL. Broke his leg. He works at a bank now. But Tyrone Prothro came along, 15, 20 years too early. He would have been, I guarantee you, his second year at Alabama, he would have been a $2 million a year man, and wow. he would have been able to be set up probably for life, off a lot of that money if he had invested it right, and done the right things with it. And instead, he struggled, trying to make hospital bills, and I listen. I've had people tell me the people at the University of Alabama were helpful to him, and in terms of making sure that he had as easy a landing as he could, but it wasn't anything like what he could have gotten if he had been properly compensated for the money he was earning other people who were using his talents and the work ethic that he had put in up to that point to earn that money. And that's all I think is fair.
To me, it's the same spirit in terms of thinking. It's the same spirit that we often see in conservative circles, right-wing conservative circles in society. No, the government shouldn't ever support, anybody, who's, on the lower end of the financial scale. Let the churches do that. Meanwhile, it's okay for Lockheed or Raytheon or some other company to literally come in and make hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, off of our tax dollars. But we don't want to see, and also to get tax breaks, Amazon paying apparently nothing for taxes, I think it was, or close to that, while turning, hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions in profits, but when it comes to, people again who the conservative mind thinks it's okay to treat as second class. It's okay to treat them as children because somehow they're not equal to the rest of us. That's what I see with it. To me, it's analogous to the same thing.
Yeah, it was always so unfair to those guys, and what they were earning and how they were handling things, and the work that they were putting in, and the expectations of them and the demands that were put on them. And then, it was all what always struck me as so unfair is to watch them get up at, 7:00 to do the early morning workouts and go, then go to class, then come back to do film study and the afternoon practice, and and to do and put in all that, and then go to their house or their dorm, wherever, and do the homework that they had to do for the day, or hell, some of them, if they weren't on scholarship, had to go to actual jobs, if they had to do some of that, and so to watch them do that and then to watch them walk by people selling their jerseys for $50 and $60 and $75, you know, with their name on the back, and them not make a dime off of it. You know, it was all bullshit. It was just,
and they were supposed to be okay with that.
Yeah. And it was, and now to listen to these same people talk about how it's ruining college football, that these guys are not loyal. You know why they're not loyal? It's because you aren't loyal to them. Okay.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the deal. You aren't loyal to them. All right. You fought like hell to keep from compensating them properly. And, you know, and you can say all day long that, well, we're getting a free education. What if they didn't want that? What if they didn't want that? I mean, listen, I think we all agree, certainly we do here, that college education is a pretty valuable thing. But,
sure,
you know, honestly, it should be free. Used to be. It should be free. It should be a thing that we just give to kids as it is anyway, you know, because it is such a valuable thing. And if we actually give a shit about the country and the future of the country and how we compete in the world, then we would make sure that we did that. But, you know, capitalism. And so now you're mad about that same capitalism.
Right.
I just, you know, come on. I just
don't get it. Yeah. The hypocrisy. Yeah.
All righty. Let's slide out. We're going to come back. We got Mayor Stephen Reed is going to come in, talk about the stuff that's going on in the city. We got Mary Moore, the legend herself, Mary Moore, to come in and talk about the session that was. All right. We'll slide out. We'll be back in a minute. It's Alabama Politics This Week. Back in a moment.